For a decade, the Balkans were torn apart by war and hatred, a bloody lesson in how old rivalries can destroy nations. The world watched, horrified, and promised never again. But in 2025, new lines are being drawn. A military pact between Croatia, Albania, and Kosovo, armed with Turkish drones, is squaring off against a resurgent Serbia, now allied with Hungary. Old wounds aren't just reopening. They're being armed with 21st century weapons. Section 1, a new Iron Curtain. Here in the heart of Europe, a continent that spent the better part of a century trying to erase its dividing lines, new ones are being drawn with terrifying speed. This isn't a story about the past. This is about right now. Because in early 2025, the ground shifted in the Balkans, creating a brand new reality. On March 18, 2025, in Albania's capital, Tirana, the defense ministers of Croatia, Albania, and Kosovo signed a new trilateral military declaration. This was more than a photo op. The agreement is a formal promise to build up their defense industries together, run joint training exercises, and counter hybrid threats. The official line from all three is that this is a pact for stability, a message to anyone thinking of causing trouble. And there's already talk of expansion, with Croatian press reporting that Bulgaria might be next to join, creating a powerful bloc of NATO states and allies. That message, even if unstated, was heard loud and clear in Belgrade. Serbia's reaction was fast and predictable. Just weeks later, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić stood shoulder to shoulder with his closest regional ally, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. On April 1, 2025, they signed their own agreement on strategic defense cooperation. While officials called it an upgrade to an old partnership, the timing was no accident. Vučić announced the two countries would hold 79 joint military activities in 2025, a huge jump from the 48 held the year before. Serbian pro-government media called it the birth of a mighty military alliance. But while the trilateral pact is a formal deal, analysts see the Serbia-Hungary agreement as more political narrative than a true military alliance, at least for now. Still, in just a few weeks, two opposing groups have taken shape. On one side, a coalition of NATO members and NATO-backed state, all aiming for deeper Euro-Atlantic ties. On the other, a partnership between a militarily neutral Serbia and Hungary, a NATO member that often goes its own way, with both sharing close ties to Moscow. These aren't alliances born in Brussels or Washington. They're homegrown power plays that have completely redrawn the security map of Southeast Europe. The Balkan Iron Curtain, as some are calling it, seems to be falling once again. Section 2, the arms race and external powers. Drawing new lines on a map is one thing. Backing them up with weapons is another. The ink on these new pacts was barely dry before a regional arms race, already simmering for years, kicked into overdrive. Both sides are modernizing their militaries at a shocking pace, creating a tinderbox where one spark could set the whole region on fire. Croatia, a key player in the new Adriatic alliance, had already started a major military overhaul. They've reinstated mandatory military service and, in a multi-billion euro deal, bought advanced Rafale fighter jets from France, giving their air force a massive boost. That move alone shifted the balance of power. But it's just one part of the picture. As NATO members, Albania and Croatia are helping transform the Kosovo security force into a real army, giving them access to NATO standard training and equipment. Feeling surrounded, Serbia is on its own spending spree. President Vučić has been buying advanced weapons from anyone willing to sell. He's looking to buy French Rafale jets to counter Croatia's, though that deal is still in the works and the planes aren't yet operational. But he's also buying sophisticated systems from Russia and China, making Serbia the most heavily armed nation in the Western Balkans by a long shot. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Powerful outside players are actively stoking the fire. Turkey is at the top of that list. President Erdogan's government isn't just selling its famous Bayraktar drones, it's fast-tracking deep military agreements with Albania, Kosovo, and North Macedonia. These deals cover everything from joint exercises and intelligence sharing to cyber defense. Turkey is setting itself up as a security patron for the Albanian-speaking world, reviving old ties and building a military footprint that's already making its neighbor Greece nervous. And then, of course, there's Russia. Moscow has always seen the Balkans as a perfect place to undermine the West and distract NATO. Its main tool is its unwavering support for Serbia. This support is diplomatic, political, and, maybe most importantly, informational. Pro-Russian channels are experts at spreading disinformation and stoking panic, predicting war and using old tactics to deepen divisions. While there's no open-source proof of direct Russian involvement in paramilitary actions, its alliance with Vučić is a strategic tool designed to keep the region on a knife's edge, a constant security headache for Europe. Section 3, Flashpoint Kosovo. Nowhere are these new divisions, and the arms race more dangerous than along the tense, heavily guarded border between Serbia and Kosovo. This is the front line of the new Balkan Cold War, where history's ghosts meet modern military hardware. The situation here isn't just tense, it's a cycle of brinkmanship that threatens to drag the entire region into a fight. For years, Serbia has been making provocative military moves, pushing troops and armor right up to the border, sparking war scares and putting NATO peacekeepers on high alert. These aren't just empty gestures. They're a constant reminder that Serbia still sees Kosovo as its own breakaway province and refuses to recognize its sovereignty. The mood on the ground, especially in the Serb-majority areas of North Kosovo, is toxic. Riots have injured NATO's KFOR peacekeepers. The arrest of an alleged spy or former fighter by one side is met with instant threats from the other. Disinformation campaigns spread fear and paranoia. It's a part of daily life. This tension is the direct result of the brutal wars of the 1990s. Kosovo's 2008 Declaration of Independence, recognized by many countries but furiously rejected by Serbia and its allies, is the original, unhealed wound. Every license plate, every police patrol is a symbol of this unresolved fight. Small administrative disputes have repeatedly brought both sides to the brink, leading to barricades and walkouts from government institutions. In 2023, things escalated dramatically when a heavily armed Serb paramilitary group attacked Kosovo police, killing people on both sides. This proved the threat is very real. There are organized, armed groups ready to use violence to challenge Kosovo's existence. Kosovo depends almost entirely on NATO troops to deter a much stronger Serbia. But as Serbia's military grows and its rhetoric gets more aggressive, you have to ask, how long can this fragile, outsourced peace really last? The Kosovo-Serbia border isn't just a line on a map. It's a tripwire for a potential European war. These modern tensions are alarming, but to truly get why this region stays on a knife's edge, you have to look back at the conflicts that created it. If you find this kind of geopolitical analysis valuable, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us keep telling these critical stories. Section 4. The Ghosts of Yugoslavia. To understand the Balkans in 2025, you can't just look at a map of today's alliances or a list of new weapons. You have to understand that this is a land haunted by ghosts. The conflicts of the 1990s and the brutal breakup of Yugoslavia aren't some closed chapter of history. They're the prologue to today's crisis. The old wounds aren't a metaphor. They are real traumas that still shape politics and drive the actions of leaders today. The wars in Croatia, Bosnia, and Kosovo were defined by ethnic cleansing, sieges, and genocide. They left behind unresolved fights over borders and land. But even deeper, they left a legacy of pure hatred and mistrust between communities that once lived together. Memories of violence, of lost family, of being forced from your home, these are passed down, becoming a core part of the political story. This history is a powerful and dangerous tool for nationalist leaders. When a politician in Belgrade talks about protecting Serbs in Kosovo, it's heard through the filter of the 1990s. When a leader in Zagreb warns of greater Serbian ambitions, they are deliberately raising the ghost of Slobodan Milosevic. The language is designed to tap into that deep well of fear and historical pain, to rally people by convincing them they're under threat once again. This feeling that history is an unstoppable force is a powerful narrative. It makes today's events feel like the latest act in a long tragedy. The new military pacts are seen as echoes of old rivalries. The Croatia-Albania-Kosovo bloc is viewed by some as a modern anti-Serbian coalition, while Serbia's alliance with Hungary is sold as a necessary search for security in a hostile world. The danger is that this can all become a self-fulfilling prophecy. When leaders constantly tell their people that conflict is unavoidable because of who their neighbors are and what they did in the past, a peaceful future starts to seem impossible. It justifies the arms race and shuts the door on any chance for dialogue. The ghosts of Yugoslavia aren't just lingering, they're being invited to the table, threatening to make the present a grim repeat of the past. Section 5, the Bosnian Powder Keg. Caught right in the middle of these new rivalries is Bosnia and Herzegovina, a country whose very existence is proof of the fragile peace that came after the wars. 30 years after the Dayton Peace Agreement ended the fighting, Bosnia is a state under incredible pressure, a political powder keg with a fuse that's getting shorter every day. These new regional blocs aren't some distant game to Bosnia. They're an existential threat pulling the country apart at its already frayed seams. Bosnia's complex political structure, split into the Bosniak Croat Federation and the Serb-majority Republika Srpska, was designed to end a war, not build a country. That structure is now being exploited. Croatia's pact is driven, in part, by a desire to protect the interests of Bosnian Croats. Meanwhile, the Serbia-Hungary alliance emboldens the secessionist leader of Republika Srpska, Milorad Dodik. Dodik has been openly defying Bosnia's state institutions for years. In 2025, he's pushed things to a crisis point, effectively banning state security agencies from his territory. He openly talks about the unification of all Serbs and the eventual secession of Republika Srpska to join Serbia. Such a move would destroy Bosnia as a state and almost certainly start a new war. His dangerous rhetoric, denying the Srebrenica genocide and accusing Bosniaks of plotting against Serbs, is a classic warning sign. And he has the open backing of Russia, which sees his actions as another perfect way to destabilize Europe. Meanwhile, other powers are circling. A recent U.S. plan proposed Turkey as a potential guardian of Bosnia's borders, another sign of Ankara's growing ambition, though this is still just a proposal. The European Union seems focused on managing symptoms, strengthening cooperation on border control to stop migration, but doing little to solve the political crisis Dodik is fueling. So, Bosnia and Herzegovina is being pulled in three different directions: by Croatia's sphere of influence, by Serbian separatism backed by Hungary and Russia, and by Turkish ambition. The country that suffered the most in the Yugoslav wars is, once again, the most fragile place in the Balkans, a flashpoint where the rivalries of these new blocs could explode with devastating results. Section 6, a calculated risk or a path to war. So, where is all this headed? Are we just watching the chess moves of regional powers playing a game of calculated risk? Or are we seeing the first steps down a road that leads straight back to war? The rise of these rival blocs, the frantic arms race, the non-stop nationalist rhetoric, and the meddling of foreign powers have created the most volatile security situation in the Balkans since the 1990s. For now, most experts believe a large-scale, conventional war remains unlikely. The memory of the last wars is still too raw, and the cost would be catastrophic. However, the consensus is that the risk of a miscalculation, of a small border clash spiraling out of control, is higher than it's been in decades. An incident in Kosovo, or a formal move by Republika Srpska to secede from Bosnia, could easily light a fire that would be almost impossible to contain. The new alliances change the entire game. It's a move away from the post-Cold War dream of collective security under NATO and the EU, and a return to a more chaotic 19th century-style system of competing blocs, where your security has to come at your rival's expense. This new reality is dangerous because it lowers the bar for conflict. When military pacts replace diplomacy, the space for peaceful solutions shrinks. Each side sees the other's defensive moves as a direct threat, creating a spiral of escalation. Serbia's arms buildup is seen as a menace in Pristina and Zagreb, which justifies their military pact, which is then used by Belgrade as proof of an anti-Serb plot. Are these leaders just playing to a home audience, using nationalism to distract from problems at home? Or do they actually believe war is a real option? The honest answer is it might be both. But intent almost doesn't matter when the machinery of war is being put together so carefully. The path to war is often paved with the belief that it can be controlled, that a limited conflict can work. It's a gamble Balkan leaders have made before, and one the people of the region have always lost. Conclusion. In 2025, the Western Balkans stand at a dangerous crossroads. The fragile peace built over 3 decades from the ashes of the Yugoslav wars is being actively taken apart. In its place, new battle lines are being drawn, not with trenches, but with defense packs and advanced missiles. The emergence of a Croatia-Albania-Kosovo bloc, backed by Turkey, facing off against a Serbia-Hungary partnership, backed by Russia, is more than a political shuffle. It's a return to the politics of division, a choice to pursue confrontation over cooperation. The arms race is picking up speed, fueled by fear. Old wounds aren't healing, they're being weaponized by leaders to justify their aggression. And at the center of it all are the flashpoints of Kosovo and Bosnia, where the future of entire nations hangs in the balance. While the world's powers posture and local leaders play their dangerous games, the ghosts of the past are watching. The battle lines of the 21st century are being drawn across the oldest fault lines in Europe. The question isn't if this fragile peace will be tested, but when, and whether the world which once promised never again will be ready this time.